Hi, it's Christy Lanuza of So to Speak, and welcome to the Closet Series. I am a little nervous about introducing our next guest because I have been highly emotional with nostalgia since our conversation. And this is a first for the Closet Series because we had the conversation earlier today and I'm airing it today. And it's the first time I've ever done a same day combo. But I want to get it in for Teacher Appreciation Week because the conversation is with my daughter's first grade teacher. Her name is Patti Notebaert, and to know her is to understand that she is the quintessential first grade teacher. She is that teacher that you think of like when you were a kid and their room was like a cocoon of like just safety and love and play and magic and laughter and oh man, just so grateful for her. And it just made me miss being a kid, and it made me miss my mom and my dad and my sister. And so I'm going to dedicate this conversation to my kids, to my mom, to my dad, to my sister. And I thank you, Patti Notebaert, for creating the rest of my day, which is going to be acting like it's 1980s. And I'm going to bake cookies and watch E.T. or Stand By Me or 16 Candles or Can't Buy Me Love and listen to the Bangles while I bake cookies, or maybe Lionel Richie, or maybe Whitney Houston. I haven't decided yet. But yeah, just, it's awesome. I hope this conversation gives you some support and relief in how to go about balancing by not balancing, if that makes sense. Just giving yourself a break, knowing that you're doing a great job, and getting a glimpse into the perspective of a grade school teacher who just loves her job and her colleagues and her kids and her district. And it makes you want to spend the rest of the day in the decade that you were a kid and bust out all of the old music and old movies and food, all the stuff that just gives you that nourishing comfort. Because right now, wow, right? Like, don't we need that? Without a doubt. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy our conversation. I consider myself very, if you're on a spectrum of tech savviness, I'm in the middle to like more towards advanced. I'm not advanced. The Google Classroom, I felt like a total novice.
I mean, I did not have any idea about anything techie that we have had to do. So I've had to take multiple professional development classes to be able to do simple things like Zooming and Google Classroom. And oh my God, those young people are so great to me that I work with.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's so awesome because it shows how your colleagues, you guys come together. You know, you have your expertise and your strengths that you can shine to them, and then vice versa. And it's so huge. So can you just speak a little bit more to that in regards to the support of colleagues, and if there are any stories that kind of stand out to you during this?
Sure. As soon as we stopped, as soon as we got the word that school was going to be closed for a little bit, one of our first grade colleagues, who's very techie, she's so good about everything, said we should put our Google Classrooms up all together to support the kids and offer little things to do, for them to do, you know, because we had the packets for the first 2 weeks. So she was great about doing it, setting anything that we wanted on. She said, do you want this on? Do you want that on? So she really was so good to us and talked us through it. And then once we found out it was going to be extended, school closure was going to be extended, the district said, okay, we've got to give support to the teachers for professional development. And then all these coaches, all of our colleagues who just came out of the woodwork, coached us through it. So we could sign up for any professional development that we needed. And anything that they weren't offering that we thought maybe we needed, just all we had to do was say the word and they did offer it. And I'm the kind of person who has to learn it 2, 3, 4 times. So I was like going back to these coaches and saying, what do you think about this? Can you talk me through this? And they would just send back little videos or all those little Loom videos that they do. And I'm telling you, people were reaching out, people that I never even met in our district were holding classes, and they would be on for an hour or an hour and a half if you needed it, and then giving their personal phone numbers and everything just to get us through it. So that was a big plus for us with all those coaches.
It can be very overwhelming, I would believe, for teachers with like the whole, okay, it's great to have these options, but oh my gosh, there's so many options of professional development. Can you just speak to any words of wisdom that you have for teachers who may be feeling totally information overload at this point, like how to navigate that?
Yeah, I think that I know I went through it this past week, and I literally had to turn my phone off, Christy, because the emails or the texts that were going back and forth, we're all in these group texts. Well, I was like, I gotta just debrief. I gotta turn my phone off and sit down and say, tonight I can't deal with it. I'll deal with it in the morning. And I think sometimes that's the only way you can do it. You have to say, give yourself that evening, even an hour if you can, just say, I can't do it, and be good with that. I mean, I was speaking to a colleague yesterday and I said, I really don't think I worked this hard even when I was teaching school, going to school for my master's and raising my children, because everything is so new to me and the technology piece. I mean, it's not normal for me to be talking to my kids on the screen. I just want to be face to face with them. And so those are the very difficult parts for me, was the technology piece. And the best way I could the best advice I could give is to take some time to get away from it and give yourself a break, go out for a walk or whatever. But that's the only way I'm dealing with it. By one night I turned it off and I said, okay, now I feel better. And then reach out to your colleagues too and talk to them about it, because I feel like you're not the only one. We're all in it together. And I even reached out to a few of my parents, because when I first started Zoom, remember how nervous I was when I was talking to you? I said, oh my gosh, I got to practice it. So I reached out to one of the kids' moms and I said, will you practice with me? And she was like, no problem. So
It's being so not too proud to ask for help. I mean,
you
I think we're
definitely
all
have to ask.
learning that, right?
Yeah.
Like we have a tendency to, it definitely is more female than male, I believe. Maybe not, but I just know that I hear more often that women are doing it all, and we have this pressure that is somewhat idolized of, oh my gosh, a woman who does it all is this someone to look up to, and it's so not the case. I
No,
think the vast majority of times when we're feeling like we're doing it all, we're about to crack. So being able to ask for help is like, what a brave move.
I had to ask for help only because I don't know so much about the computer. And what I thought was so great is my young colleagues are so patient with me. I mean, you could tell they're true teachers, because they would be, oh, do you want to Zoom together and I'll walk you through it? And, this might help. And they'll send me little things. So I think it was just, you really see how special these teachers are and how devoted the young teachers are too. And I'm like, oh, thank God for those young people who can help us older people through it.
They may have more knowledge in regards to the tech, but you have, I can only speak to you really, because you're the only teacher that I speak to because of Veronica. And you've just been so, like you said, devoted. And I'm like, that is the perfect word. You can feel your love for the kids when you do the sub classrooms and the group classroom. It comes through, and it's you can't force that or fake that. It's tricky to have come through a screen too, and you just do it so beautifully. And Veronica and all of the kids are just feeling that safety from that consistency that you're setting up and that sense of community that you're creating.
It was it was really surreal. I mean, I don't even think we had an opportunity to even talk about that we might have to close school. You know, I don't even, it all of a sudden was there in 2 days. We had all these cases, and then people were like, you know, school might have to close. So, but it just was so far away from my mind. And then when I came home that day from school and I heard that we were closed, I thought, oh my gosh, I didn't get to talk to the kids about it. You know, that was a big thing for me. I wanted to be able to talk to them about it. And I really did think we were going to go back within that week. I thought, oh, we'll go back after a couple of weeks. But as I saw it going forward and then going into school when it was empty, it was heartbreaking. I mean, I walk into that. I still do some days when I have to go pick things up, and you walk in and there's snow pants and their little personal things are hanging on the hooks, and then you go into the classroom and it's empty and all their little special little items are in their baskets. It's heartbreaking. It's just, I don't know anyone that wouldn't have wanted to go back immediately, you know, other than the health concerns, obviously. But I I said to someone recently, I think I would teach year round, even in the heat, if I could just go back and be with the kids, because now, especially with not having going back at all, there is no sense of closure. You know, we're so used to doing fun things at the end of the school year. And I keep telling the kids that's why we worked hard all year so we could do these fun things. And that piece is sad too, because they work so hard, and you know, we can relax and enjoy it a little bit and have fun at school in the towards the end of school. But I think that that closure was just, it was too much. And it's sad to think that even when we go back in the fall, it's going to be different. You know, the kids aren't going to be able to, I'm sure, I don't know, I'm just saying this, but they're so used to hugging and, you know, being right in each other's faces. I don't think they're going to be able to do that right away in the fall. And it's really not normal for little ones.
It isn't normal. And thank you for being so honest. And I'm thinking too about going in. My son is going to be going to kindergarten. So it's already such a transition for kids who are going into kindergarten. And on top of that, having this abnormal on top of the abnormal
I
is,
know.
we just don't know. And I really feel like I definitely have a tendency to get anxious. And I feel like there's been something that has really, you know, you hear things all the time and then you actually listen when you need it the most. And just how the unknown offers you the opportunity to look at it with uncertainty and anxiety, or as a possibility and as an opportunity. And it took me at first, I mean, when I first was hearing that during all of this, even as a coach, I just wasn't there at all. I couldn't
Yeah.
find the opportunity in it. I was overwhelmed by the mass amount of traumas that were happening on small and large scales. And now I'm really checking in and realizing that there really are opportunities here. And we just need to be able to do like what you do, which is shut off the outside so that we can go in, because that's where we find them.
Yeah, you know, I was thinking about that the other day when I was walking about opportunities, and I thought, you know, the one thing that I do see in my neighborhood now, it's a lot of young families have moved in, and you know, it's families that I've never seen because the kids are in organized sports and they're going, and you know, mom and dad are working, but now you see they're outside, they're playing, you know, the parents are out there playing with them, they're taking walks around the neighborhood. A lot of kids have gotten, you know, puppies and all this stuff. But those were the small things that I said, look at that. It just looks like so much fun for those families to have that downtime a little bit. And I know it's stressful because they're worried about jobs and their child's education, but families seem to actually, you know, enjoy the time they were spending together instead of rushing and saying, hurry up, we got to go to soccer practice, we got to go to dance, we got to go to, you know, wherever. And I think that was the one piece of opportunity that I saw in your article, had so many little pieces in there too. I loved that you said. I like the one about walking into the living room and seeing the mess or something and then walking back out. And
Yeah. And it's those little mini moments of freedom. Like, no,
Yeah.
not cleaning. Like, you almost have a relationship with inanimate objects. Like, no, I'm not cleaning you up right now. And you
Yeah.
move on.
I
And
got better things to do.
yeah, I have better things to do, like sleep. You
Yeah.
know, I know sleeping, like we've been doing sleepovers in my bed, the kids like, and it's one of our most precious moments of the whole entire day. We all pick books, and a lot of them are Mo Willems, and Veronica and I will switch off between Piggy and Gerald, who's doing what, and she gets all characterish and hilarious. And it's those are so much more precious. Like, I do think that the majority of parents love bedtime. They love
Yeah.
it's just like you're in almost like a bubble with your kid. It's just beautiful, even more so now.
Yeah, I think so too, because you don't feel that pressure of, oh my God, I got to get to sleep because I've got to do 10,000 other things before the kids get up in the morning. And I feel like that piece has really been one of the nice times, the one of the good things that's coming out of this. And I know being in touch with families and friends has been a lot different too, because you make that effort more to do a Zoom meeting with your family if they're far away, or I mean, I talk to my girls every day through text or something like that, but we set up a regular Zoom meeting and have coffee every Wednesday, or in the afternoon or whatever. And it's just fun to see their faces at this time. I'm like, oh my gosh, thank goodness they're healthy and I could see them. And so I
Yeah,
think it's important to do those little things.
the little things are what add up. Like, if we are consistently paying attention to those, that's the energy that we're giving out. And so we're rooting ourselves in that appreciation and that joy and that gratitude. And then we start looking at the world through that space
Hmm.
versus through the space of worry and confusion. Then we're looking at the world through that space, and everything's worry and confusion. So I love that you're creating that as a practice. It's so important. I have a few friends who are teachers and are parents with young kids in the house, and like, it gets me very emotional, because they're working really hard and they're totally overwhelmed. And just any insight that you can give them.
I honestly don't know how they do it. I mean, I'm working with all young teachers that have families, and I'm listening to them. They have their kids on computers next to them while we're doing a Zoom meeting trying to get some content things together. And plus they still have the worries of, are my kids going to be healthy? I've got to go grocery shopping. I've got to do all that. So I honestly don't know how young parents are doing it. Um, they're just they're unbelievable in keeping their heads above water. And I watch my parents who are doing all this work with their children. I'm so impressed by how hard everyone's working and the effort that everyone's putting into it. It's a partnership. We just have to all be there for each other and help out and do what we can to support each other. And I think just take that deep breath and say, it's all going to get done. It's not, who cares if something goes undone for a couple days, a couple weeks. We got a lot of time to get it completed eventually. But I really admire young parents these days. It's a juggling act, and they're really doing it well. So I really don't know how teachers are teaching their own children and their students and taking time for themselves. They really have to do it. It's important. And I'm sure they don't, because they still have to make dinner and grocery shop and do whatever it is that they do. But someone did tell me, who's a runner, said, I'm doing an awful lot of running. That much I know. So I guess the exercise piece is really good too, but just take a little time, even if it's 10 minutes just for yourself, probably.
And it's giving yourself the permission that it's essential.
Hmm.
It's essential, because 10 minutes sounds so, depending on the day, it sounds so big, like, I don't have 10 minutes. And then it sounds so inconsequential, like, 10 minutes, what difference is that going to make? And it makes such a difference.
I know, it really
Even if
does.
you did jumping jacks and like
Yeah,
10 push-ups or 5, like whatever, just getting the blood moving, get you back in your body, out of your head. You feel stronger, you feel more energized. Watching YouTube videos are
I
really
know.
funny, like, just something to release it, so that you can turn your brain off a little bit, because yeah, you can drive yourself nuts. I'm running a business. I'm working from home. I have a pre-K and first grader. I feel like I have it made, to be honest, because I don't have two kids who are in, not saying that Luke's education isn't as important. Of course it is, but the pressure isn't as strong.
Right.
Like I can't imagine teaching children and then having to homeschool your children. It boggles my mind. So I just want to give an extra shout out to those teachers who are doing that, because um, it's one of the most admirable and
Oh,
and and obligatory. It's an obligation too, but it's an obligation that is not going unseen at all. Like
I
there's
know.
just so much appreciation for that.
And they're zooming for many things too, not just school things. Like there's zooms, like I know some of the kids are doing taekwondo, they're zooming with that. They're doing music lessons, they're zooming with that. So they're not just juggling Google Classroom for
Yep.
school, but they're juggling it all their outside activities too.
Absolutely. Veronica's doing taekwondo, and that took her, so that now she's in a groove, but that was I didn't know what to expect. I was going in this whole thing with like everything new, like, well, let's just see what happens. Like
Right.
I had no idea. And it took her a while to adjust to it.
Yeah.
She was very, very overwhelmed by it. And,
Yeah.
and then they're doing a phenomenal job. The company that she works through, they really are. And all of a sudden she just shifted and was like in it. So it takes time, and
Yeah.
it's just important to give yourself that break. Like
Yeah.
I keep practicing when I preach in regards to like just talking to myself the way I would talk to my friend.
I know.
Because I consciously, I'll set timers. I mean, I have to catch myself, because you can get really hard on yourself, and not even hard on yourself. You can just push yourself so much. And it's like, if I was hung up on a certain thing, and my friend was hung up on the same thing, I would just be so much gentler with her about it.
Yes. You're
You
right.
know? And then one of the other things too that I've been doing is just paying attention to, am I the adult that I would hope that Veronica and Luke are? And they may not, but just working from
Oh,
that place,
yeah.
it's like, it's a cool space to be in.
Yeah.
It's a cool space to be in, for sure.
Well, I mean, I know Veronica. I don't know Luke that well, but Veronica totally is so. She's so compassionate for such a young age. That's a gift. She sees the good in everything. She's always smiling. She's always kind to her friends. I watched her yesterday when she was really looking at what everyone's facial expressions were, and I was like, oh my God, it's just, I miss seeing that daily, let me tell you. Their interactions daily. That's one thing that's really difficult to see, and to hear all of cute things they say to each other, and that's tough.
Yeah, the way that kids talk to each other, how much you can learn from just eavesdropping, in a sweet way, not in like a
Right.
private way, but um, just listening and pausing. And that's one thing too. I realized that through this, I realized like Luke and Veronica are 2 years apart. I'm sure there are other parents out there who have 3, 4 kids, or, two kids, and they're just a few years apart. And they had a good relationship before this, for sure. But I am absolutely sure they're coming out of this even tighter than ever. They're their only playmates.
Right.
And so when they fight, I look at them and I'm like, you fight like you have no playmate today. Like,
Right.
figure it out, because you don't have a playmate. And so they're kind of like, oh, right. And it's created space for me to not jump in to like fix if someone's crying or something. Just giving my that sense of observation and just listening, and just kind of checking in from a distance, like the other room. They work it out.
Yeah. Yeah. Without you getting involved, they know how to do it. They really know how to figure it out. It might be that they have to take some time away from each other, or they might have to do a little shouting, but they do work it out. I do think kids are going to be much more resilient in the future, going forward. Like, I think it was Tom Hanks did some commencement speech on Zoom, of course, and he said, it's going to be like you'll always remember before COVID, he kept telling the graduates, before COVID, it was like this. And I think that I go, wow, these kids are going to be resilient because of COVID, I think. I hope they're not going to be germaphobes, but they definitely are going to be resilient because they get it. Like all of a sudden they're, they were just with their friends one moment, and then the very next day, well, it was over a weekend, I know, but they have to learn from home now, and mom and dad have to teach us in between mom and dad doing work, and so I do think they're going to have a different. I think they'll approach school differently in the future too. I think they're going to be a lot more independent even than we give them credit for, because I think this time of year, especially after January, February in school, the kids really start to show their independence and they just take off, and it's just such a neat experience to be a part of. And really a lot of them were just taking off right in that March date. And I was like, oh my God, this is going so great. But I think that, they're doing it now. They're taking off now by maneuvering computers in the Google Classroom and thinking, oh, I could learn this, and oh, this is a different way. And they're really, they really have stepped up to the plate. That's for sure. It's hard for little ones, but they do it.
It is hard, and I feel like I love the Tom Hanks that you just I love it, and only Tom Hanks can, like, I can hear
I
his
know.
voice. So you were saying how you feel like there's that resiliency that's being built within kids, and they're going to be more independent, right? So
Yeah.
what, if at all, if you could give any thoughts to, like, what do you think that means for the future of education and your relationship with kids?
Gee, I think it's going to be, I think the kids will, oh, I don't know. I'm trying to think. The resilient piece to me is important. Well, I mean, the kids, I'm thinking of my little ones now going to second grade. And I think they'll be much more receptive to the first few weeks of school. We do spend so much time doing procedures and routines, but I think these kids now are going to be, I got these procedures and routines down, and I'm ready to learn, and I want to do this, and I want to do that. And so I think that that's going to, even though probably we have to back up our teaching a little bit because of missing a couple of months, and it's a little different teaching on the computer as opposed to in the classroom. So I think we're going to take it a little slower. At least I know I am. I don't know what anyone else is going to do, but I think I'm going to take it a little bit slower and try to get a good feel for where my students are when we get back in the fall. But I think they're just going to be fired up and ready to go because they've missed that whole piece of interacting with other students and being together as a group and trying to solve problems. I think that's going to be a big difference, is the solving of problems is going to come earlier. Like the explosion usually comes January, February, March. I think we're going to see it. I hope that we'll see it a little bit earlier. I know we'll see growth in the maturity piece, maybe not so much in the academic piece, but I think in the maturity piece, we're going to definitely see more growth because they've had to deal with this, pandemic, which is not something that, is very normal for anyone to deal with. And, you think back in our life, I think back when I was growing up, I can't remember anything like this that was this bad, for us, for every family to be affected by it. So I do think the maturity piece will be a lot different when they all go back in the fall, and when we can get together. And I know I keep saying I think I'm going to teach differently when I go back in the fall because I've always had great parents, and we teach as partners. I look at my parents as partners, and that whole it takes a village, because it really does take a village. But I think I'm going to take more time to really enjoy more of their learning instead of saying, oh my gosh, I have to hurry up and get this done by Friday. I think I'm going to take some more time to let them explore a little bit more and see how they digest the learning, as opposed to me saying, okay, wait, come back in small groups so I can work fast with you and do this. I know I'm gonna teach differently in the fall. I mean, you just have to back it up a little bit and say, okay, and appreciate those little ones for what they've gone through.
Oh my God. So 100%. And there were two things that you said. So one is what an opportunity. So again, to go with the possibilities, the opportunities, what an opportunity for you as an educator there's something it sounds like that could be exciting about like that shift of making it even more student centered than it already is in your classroom, but in this different scope. So opportunity for that. And then like talk about learning life skills
I
on
know.
demand, and then they're going back into the classroom and they're able to apply those. And you're such a respectful teacher. Like, so you're teaching first grade and you have such respect for them. Like you don't look at them like, oh, I'm Mrs. Notebaert and you're 6 years old or 7 years old. You're so respectful to them. Like the way you talk to them.
Yeah, well, they make it easy, I mean, also, I don't have kids that age at home too. So I look at these kids as my own little kids. And I've always said, I was lucky enough to stay home with my kids and I didn't work when they were in school. And I mean, I really went back to teaching after my kids were grown. So for me, it's new still, and I love it. And I love to see the excitement and the enjoyment of the kids. I enjoy the interaction with my colleagues. I love to see these, young people teach old people new things. But the kids make it easy. I have always wanted to teach them as if they were my own children. And I always believe that you have to start school off together as a sense of community. So you probably know, but we spend a good solid 8 weeks in my classroom in the beginning of the school to really make sure that they know we're a family and we have to be together and be there for each other. And I think it pays off because, then there is the mutual respect between the teacher and the students. And, I just enjoy every minute of being with them, really. There's times, yeah, that sometimes I go, oh my gosh, what's going on in here? But, they make it easy because that whole sense of wonder is always there. And, they have those beautiful smiles. It's hard not to, give them whatever you can give them to help them succeed.
And you do that. And that's, you notice that and you don't run past that. And so that's such a huge part in why you're so great with that age group. Like you appreciate them. And by establishing like what you were saying, the way you set up the classroom for the first 2 months, it's just trust. I don't want to say just, you're establishing trust. And at that age, the kids may not be able to understand what that means, but they feel it. And so of course they're going to be learning better because they're feeling safe.
It's fun for someone my age, actually, because they keep me young and I enjoy them.
And I heard you sharing your knock knock jokes the other day. You have one that you want to share with us that's like your top knock knock joke, or your top joke, I should say.
I don't have any top knock jokes. I'm always like looking them up, or I love the one that the two girls actually taught me this in our class. The one about knock knock. Oh gosh, do I even know? I don't probably can't even remember it. Let me see. I think I might have put it down, but they actually taught it to me. And when I told them, they go, "We taught you that." I go, "I know. I had to put it in the knock knock jokes." It was like something about, oh yeah, knock knock, who's there? Spell who? WHO. And they're like, they came to me and told me that. And when I told them the other day in the Zoom classroom, they were like, "We taught you that." I go, "I know. I had to put it in there."
That's great.
They're cute.
It's the best. And they're like the popsicle stick jokes.
Yeah. Oh
You
my gosh,
know,
I know.
it's like it just brings it. Sometimes you need that basic humor just to kind of bring everything down, because kids are, especially the age group you're with, like what a godsend in regards to helping just create that space of humor and that space, like they just naturally do it. So the world could be in this state that it's in, and they just bring that presence and that wonder, like you said, and just that innate sense of joy and curiosity into your life. And it's like they're like powerhouses for us right now.
I know. They really are. They really are. Was talking to one of the kids in our class and I said, "Oh, I miss you." And she said to me, I miss you too, but don't worry, you'll be okay. It was just so cute. I go, she's consoling me. It was just
Oh,
adorable.
well, that reminds me, the other day, Veronica, I was cooking something and I was frustrated with something and I just like grunted or something like that. And Veronica looked and goes, Mom, I think you need to take a couple of deep breaths because I think you're putting too many commands on yourself. I was like, what? Wait a second.
Spoken just like her mother.
I think you're right. I was like, I think you're right.
Uh-huh.
So they just create that, which is really awesome. And it reminds me of everything you were saying. A good friend of mine, and this has been going around, so maybe people have seen it, but it was just this beautiful ode to kids right now. Just, we're giving so much credit to all, as we absolutely should, teachers and frontliners and essential workers and non-essential workers, like all the adults, and the kids are unaware and not even asking for appreciation. And there's a tendency to overlook the fact that we pulled them with good intention out of school. They have no social network other than online. Some kids don't have any, siblings at home, so they're only children or worse. But I don't want to get into that. But yeah, there's a whole spectrum of that, and it's giving the kids just like pausing for a second and saying, like you said before, the resiliency and just that transition. I don't have any friends who have said that their kids have really had a horrible time with this. And there may be situations like that, but I do think it takes a moment to kind of pause and be like, whoa, our kids are transitioning. They're so resilient and they're making the best of it. And they don't know any better. They
No.
do because they know what they missed, but they also, they're still, maybe not knowing any better isn't the right phrasing, but just to give them that credit.
I know. They're amazing because the other day I was walking my dog around the neighborhood, and this one little girl came up to me and she said, "Oh, can I pet your dog?" And I said, "Oh," I go, "Well, right now we have to be careful. I don't want, any harm to come to you at this time." And she goes, "Oh, I forgot about COVID for a minute." She was just so sweet and innocent about it. But, I was like so impressed that her parents had her, and this was like early on into the pandemic. So I was like, wow, her parents, she was little, she was young too. And I go, I'm impressed that her parents talked to her all about it and she knew all about it. And but still the innocence of wanting to go up and, see a dog and the whole thing. But I think these kids are amazing. And you're right, we got to give them credit for getting through this too. I'm grateful every day that we've stayed healthy. I'm grateful to, my colleagues for helping me get through this. And I know that's a crazy term, just be grateful, but you really do have to have that gratitude towards, we did have this little bit of time together, and I'm going to celebrate whatever little successes I could find. And when all else fails, just get in bed and read a book with your kids, because that's the best part.
Or go to sleep. I mean,
Yeah.
if you can go to sleep, if the kids are, watching a show and you can rest for 15, 20 minutes, do it.
Yep.
Do it. I absolutely am taking naps in the middle of the day for 15
Yeah.
to 20 minutes without any, and sometimes my body it's not an option. Like I have to, or else I'll be burning. I'll be just burning out.
Yeah.
And that's a luxury. And I
It
feel
is.
incredibly privileged to be able to do that, but I don't feel guilty. I feel so grateful about that. And so, like you had said about we hear gratitude all the time, I absolutely am of the thought of when we hear a word constantly, it dilutes the meaning of it.
Right.
So this sounds so ridiculous, but like go to thesaurus.com, put in gratitude, find a different word that's
Right.
fresh to you, that's novel to you. Maybe it's appreciation, maybe it's joy, maybe it's satisfaction, so that you can get in that, because it all will lead to gratitude. It'll
Yeah.
all lead to gratitude. Talked about watching the news and sometimes shutting it off or not watching the news, and realizing, being self-aware enough to know, like, I'm done. I don't need this right now. I will be informed, but I don't need this right now. And one practice that I've been doing is I know my system gets very sensitive with
Yeah.
watching the news. So I'll read it instead of watching it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's much calmer. I feel much more in control of the speed that I'm taking it in. I don't watch it in the morning. I don't watch it when I go to bed. I don't watch it every day. And when I do or I should say take it in every day. But when I do, it's usually in the middle of the day. It's like
Right.
lunchtime or 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, because I know my thought process will go full ahead with it. So I'm very conscious of that. Do you have any tips in regards to creating those boundaries of news that you practice yourself or you've heard other people practice?
I in the beginning of this whole pandemic, I was like, glued to the TV on the news, trying to figure out what's going on and the whole thing. And then it really did get too much. And I was like, okay, I'm done. I got to tune out. I got to, get outside. I got to take a deep breath, whatever. So, but no, I really do just turn it off. I don't, I like your idea of reading it, at a time of day where you can control it too. You don't have to even have the TV going in the background. But no, I just turn it off, and I'll watch something silly, like today I was like, said, oh, I'm going to watch Antique Roadshow because I don't want to listen to the news. It's so bad. So I I think it's better to, if you can't digest it, turn it off. Don't even deal with it. And when at a time when you can, then that's fine. But
And
it's
balance
been
it.
bad news a lot. So
Yeah. So it's also like, I'm hearing balance it, Antique Roadshow might be your thing. Or what came to mind for me is have you been watching John Krasinski's Some Good News
oh, I know.
from The Office? Like it's hilarious. So it's uplifting and it's so heartfelt, and
Right.
it shows you true stories that are happening in the world, because we all know that no matter if this is not politics, this is just reality of news. If it bleeds, it leads. So
Yep.
they're not going to put the most joyous and rah news in the headlines.
Right.
That's not their job. So make it your job to seek out valid and informed news that does offer that.
Right.
And I think John Krasinski's just nailing it. I think
Yeah, he's doing such a great
oh,
job.
he's such a love.
I love all the the virtual concerts that are out there. Those are beautiful. And, I know that the James Fenimore Cooper has all these virtual things that I like to look at. And someone was just telling me the Botanical Gardens has virtual tours to go on. So those kind of things are so nice if you're going to go on the computer or do something like that. But those are a good way to relax, I think.
I didn't even know about the Botanical Gardens. That just got me super excited. And just
Yeah.
the thought of taking 10 minutes to go through a virtual Botanical Gardens. Is it the Bronx or Brooklyn or all
I
over?
think it's Brooklyn. I think it's Brooklyn's.
Oh, that just sounds it just sounds so peaceful. It
I
sounds
know.
magical and peaceful, and you can do it with your kids,
Yeah.
which is so fun. That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay.
Or Veronica's cooking show. That's a good piece too.
Veronica has been loving herself a cooking show. So she has been loving, and I'm going to put this shout out because it's so kid friendly and she's hilarious. So the chef Allison Roman she's a New York Times. She used to be with Bon Appetit. Now she's in New York Times. I think she's still with New York Times. Her videos on YouTube are hilarious.
Oh
There's
my gosh.
Veronica can't get enough of it. Like
Yeah.
and that's igniting her. I mean, we've been cooking so much. She just has been loving Allison Roman.
I know I got an email from the James Fenimore Cooper that the Farmers Museum is going to do some virtual things for the kids. So that would be fun too to see.
I'm going to ask this to Patti, and if you're out there and you're a parent who's dealing with the same thing, hopefully this helps you. So my daughter is in Patti's class, as you know, and she is loving reading. She is loving math. Writing, she is not. We have such resistance for her to write. And it is like, it would be so easy. Like I'm fighting my hands just typing it in and not having her write. Then I'm like, then she's going to be in second grade and she's not going to know how to write as well because her writing skills are backing up a little bit. So can you just help me? What's some advice that you'd give with specifically with writing, or maybe it's beyond that, but with writing for sure?
I think writing is so hard for the kids because it's such a, format that we say, oh, you have to have a topic sentence and then 2 details and then a closing. But I always suggest using a journal. Just give her a journal and let her write whatever she wants to in the journal. And that's her private little piece of writing. She can make mistakes. She can just put one sentence down. She could just put a word or draw pictures. And then sometimes too, she could write something to you in the journal, and then you can answer her back in the journal and, model that writing in a way. But I just think we don't want them to dislike writing right out of the chute. So that's why I always say, oh, just back it up and let them have a journal. And if they think that that's their private little thing, and they could write anything. She could write recipes in there. She would be a perfect candidate for that. But I think that's one way. And don't worry too much about the formal writing right now. It's on the computer. I mean, they're getting it. They really are getting it. The pieces that I just got for this last writing are amazing. The kids are doing a great job. So I wouldn't put too much pressure on them with that piece. If they got the reading down, great. The writing comes naturally. So I would suggest just a journal or a diary, whatever you want to call it for them.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I didn't even think about, because right when you said journal, I was like, Veronica's going to doodle.
Oh,
And which is great. But then the fact that you just were like, oh, she can doodle, she can write. I was like, yeah, that it's also just the motion,
yeah,
just getting used to that motion and having the freedom
right,
to make it her own. I love the idea. I love the recipes, like to take
right.
something that they love to do, whether it's nature or cooking or a hobby, and then having them write about that or write that.
Yeah. And even when she doodles, just have her just say, oh my gosh, can you label those beautiful pictures that you have? And then, right away she's got words down, and then she's going to say, oh, I might want to do more words. So, I mean, I just think when they know that it's their own, it's a lot different than when they know they have to hand it in and, that's going to get graded, or, oh, I got to have my topic scented. So that's why I like the journaling piece.
Yeah, that's huge. Thank you so much for that. That's huge. Yeah, like when we were trying to write the other day, Veronica's mind just went, she's like, it's like, remember to capitalize the beginning sentence. She goes, Mom, it would be really awesome if I just switched it and I lowercase the beginning of every sentence and capitalize the rest of the word. We just had a great conversation. It was so funny. I was
Yeah.
just, oh, let's, and so it's coming to mind because I'm like, maybe I just have her write like that. Like she
Yeah.
makes up her own language, or what kid doesn't love to make up their own language and their own
Yeah.
code, and how fun for them to be able
Yeah.
to do that.
Yeah, I kind of would let them do it. I mean, let them do what they want to do with that writing piece, because you just don't, you want them to enjoy writing and not make it like, oh, and they do. And it's hard, I mean, it's tiresome too. It requires muscle skills, and
And
so it
brain
does,
power.
yeah, I
Like,
know.
so, and especially per kid. Some kids every kid's different,
Yeah.
so those are such great tips. So thank you so much for that. I did just catch my pin, and I want to just give a shout out to Mrs. Slatton, because she made this with Veronica in kindergarten, and Veronica gave it to me. I think it was for Mother's Day. So
I love it.
I love it. It's just so her.
I
It's so,
know. I know.
I love it. So Mrs. Slatton, we love you too. I'm thinking too of all of you teachers when you first go back to school and see like what an emotional reunion for all of you.
Oh, I know.
Have you
I
seen
know.
any teachers at all, even from a distance, or?
No, we've just been Zooming if we see each other, and that's pretty much it. We might do like our little grade level might get together, on Zoom, something like that. But no, we haven't seen anybody. And we need to go into close up our classrooms and everything. So I'm hoping in the next few weeks we can go in, maybe 3 or 4 at a time, and then you can kind of wave and see each other. But I think of all the things that's happened in the last few months for a lot of those teachers. Some had babies. We didn't, and you weren't able to, you see the baby from afar in a picture. Some had, a lot of different things going on in their lives. So graduations of their kids that they couldn't celebrate. There's so much. So I think it'll be very emotional when we do go back.
I feel like there's going to be such an incredible, like, collective conscious boom of celebration once we can. We're going to
Yeah.
feel it on such a visceral level, like I just got the chills. That's pretty exciting. That's a great opportunity,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. The appreciation just to be able to do that, be together. I think that'll be um, something that we all should remember, that, you know, we didn't have this for whatever it might be, 6 months, 4 months, whatever, but I think we will appreciate just all being together. That in itself will be, instead of like dragging yourself into work if you have a bad day, you just, I think we'll go in with a different little jump in your step.